Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today I want to show you how adaptable Slimline cards are for scenes. A Slimline card, if you're not familiar, they usually fit, there's the mini Slimline and this is the regular Slimline, and the dimensions of this are so that it will fit in like a business envelope. You could always decorate it up and make a real neat set. But the Slimline, because of the size of it, it lends itself to creating scenes. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create this Slimline card with a scene. Look through your stamps, see what you've got, see which stamps you have that might be able to develop a scene that you might put it together. I had this is one of our Stampin' Up's newer suites. It's in the mini January through June mini catalog, and this is the Flowering Fields. And the only thing I'm going to be using from the Flowering Tulip stamp set is the Happy Mother's Day. Everything else that I'm going to be using comes from the Tulip Fields. We're going to be using some stamps. We're going to be using a die to cut out our windmill. We're going to use a lot of these different stamps on this Slimline card. If you like the looks of these, this one kind of looks like a tree to me, but you can make some really neat scenes with those, but the size of them doesn't really work on a regular Slimline. I didn't try a mini Slimline, but it just doesn't work on the Slimline. So you would need to do a different size if you wanted to feature the Fields of Flowers stamps. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'm just going to show you the inside. Okay. So what will you need to make this card? So I started with a piece of Pool Party that is 8 inches by 9 inches, and it's scored on the shorter side at 4 inches. So you're going to have two sides that are 4 by 9. Then I have a piece of Designer Series paper to be my background. And this comes in if you get the Flowering Fields suite, this is in the pack of paper. Both of the Designer Series paper that I'm using today comes from that suite. So this is a Pool Party, and it's got some petal pink in it, just kind of like a sky look. And this is 3 3/4 by 8 3/4. Then you're going to need a basic white that is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2 for the front, and you're going to need a piece that is 3 3/4 by 8 3/4 for the inside. And then you're also going to need a piece of the Designer Series paper, and I cut mine at 1 1/2 inches. You could do whatever size you want your little field to be. Let me show you the front of the card. So you got this field of tulips. I did mine at 1 1/2 inches, but you could do it however much you want your field to be. If you want it to come up higher and have less sky, you could do that. I just went with 1 1/2 inches, and this is 1 1/2 by 8 1/2. Okay, so let's just get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our smaller basic white piece. And I wanted to get some color on this. I wanted to bring in my Balmy Blue, so I'm just going to be using the Balmy Blue and a blending brush. And this is really good because you don't have to be a great, fantastic blender. We want a swirly look. We want a sky look. So I'm just going to bring in some scrap paper to put underneath. And because this paper, this Designer Series paper, is going to cover part of it, I don't really care how far down I come as long as I come below what that would be. So I don't need to mask and make a perfect line because this is going to cover it up. So I'm just going to bring it almost all the way down to know that my paper is going to cover it. So I'm just going to get some ink on my brush. And I always like to start off on the scrap paper and then come on to my piece so that if there's any globs, it'll be on the scrap instead of on my piece. But with, like I said, with this, you want a little bit of a blotchy look because it's a sky. So the swirls in it, to me, that's part of a sky. So, and I would always suggest if you're new, trying to blend, always go with a lighter hand because you can always darken. You can always go back over and darken, but you can't lighten. So, always think about that. Always go with a lighter hand at first, and then you can always add layers to darken it. So I'm just going to keep working on blending this till I get the look that I want. You can have as much blue or as little blue as you want. And again, I don't care if it's perfectly blended because this is a sky. So I'm just going to keep getting some blue on here. I think I've got it about where I want it. Okay. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to flip this over so that doesn't get on any of my project. And because I have the balmy blue right here, and that's what's going on the inside of the card, I'm going to bring in the basic white piece that's going on the inside. And in the Tulip Field stamp set, you have this line of tulips, and that's what's going on the inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. This is all we're doing to the inside panel. And since we've got the balmy blue, let's go ahead and just get this done and out of the way. So I'm just going to ink this up. If you don't have a long block like this, you could always use your Stamparatus. That would be great for this. So I've got that. And I just want to put it, it's just going to be a border along the bottom. And then I'm going to have to, this isn't wide enough to go all the way across, so I'm going to have to do it in spurts. So I'm just going to figure out where I want it and try to get it straight. And just put that down. Like that. And then I'm going to just, I'm really worried only about inking 1/2 because I'm only going to need a little of it. And I'm just going to come over here and line this up and just start where the other ended, just trying to keep it in a straight line. And then I'm going to just move this down and I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. I'm going to make sure I move this up so you can see. And I'm just lining this up, trying to keep it in a straight line. And putting that down. And that's got my border for my inside piece. And that's as much as we're going to do on the inside piece. Now we are going to be using the balmy blue again in a moment for clouds. But let's go ahead and work on this piece. So the first thing I did is I came in with my designer series paper that's going to go on here. And I lined it up with how it's going to go. And I took a pencil and I just drew a very faint line across there. You can erase this if you need to. I found that it didn't even show at the end and I didn't even have to erase it. Just a real slight line. Just to give me an understanding of where the paper's coming to, because what I'm going to do next with the tree, I want to put a darker tree. I figured if it was closer, it would be darker. If it was further away, I was trying to give depth of perception. So we're going to do one at full strength and then one that's a second generation. But I needed my line to know where to stamp these at. And afterwards, I put the ribbon on. I really could have even went a little higher with my trees, but it's fine the way it is. So I'm using Evening Evergreen. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to ink this up. And one is going to be lower and one's going to be higher. And I'm just using my line as a guide. Okay, so I'm going to put the first one down, the stem down below the line a little bit. And then without re-inking, I'm going to raise it up and stamp my second one. So it gives a little bit of depth of perception. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And then I'm just going to raise it slightly and stamp again to give me my second tree, just like that. Now I'm going to come back in with the balmy blue. And I've got some clouds. I've got a little cloud, and then I've got a bigger cloud. And these are just totally random. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to ink up, and I'm going to do one full strength and then lighter. And I know that's really light, but that's what I wanted. And I'm going to do the same thing with the little ones. And I'm just going to fill this as many clouds as you want. So just play with it and see how many clouds you want. Just like that. I think I'm good with that. Okay. Now I'm going to be using early espresso. Move this out of the way so I don't get anything on it. So I'm just going to ink this up with the early espresso, and I'm just going to stamp this down on there. I know we're a little early for Mother's Day, but you'll have your card ready if you need to make one for a mom and a mom-in-law and a stepmom and different things. You have plenty of time to get them all covered. So then on this other piece, I'm going to come in with my windmill. And again, I'm using the early espresso for it as well. And I'm going to ink this up. I'm just going to stamp this down. And there's a die that goes with this, so it's really easy to cut out. And to color this, I'm using my Stampin' Blends, and I'm using the crumb cake, the light and the dark crumb cake. So I'm going to start with the dark. And just along these little lines, I'm just going to add a little of the dark. I am not stressing over this. I'm just kind of scribbling over those lines because I'm going to come back and blend them. And I just want to give it an aged look. And then the little door, I'm just going to color in completely with the dark. Just like that. Then I'm going to come in with the light. And I'm just going to blend that out. Just blending towards the middle. And then you want to let the alcohol evaporate up and see where it is before you decide if you want to add more. You can always go back and add more dark and then blend it, or add more light. Just like that. And then when you get it where you want it, you're ready to die cut it. And I have one that's already ready that we're going to use in our project. Okay. And so we're ready to start putting things together. So I'm going to bring in my card pieces. And we're going to start with putting our background piece on our card base, just like that. So I'm just going to put my liquid glue on the back of this. Got that a little bit globby. And I'm just going to line this up. And press it down. And then I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to go ahead and put our inside piece down. Again, I'm just going to put some liquid glue. Going to just line that up. Press that down. Now here's our piece that we're going to be putting down and building the rest of our scene on. So the next step, we want to go ahead and put our field piece on. So I'm going to put some liquid glue on this. And I'm just going to line it up on the bottom. Just press this down. And then you can look at this and see if your line shows, your pencil line. And if it does, you can erase it. And it looks like I've got a little bit of line that I can see, so I'm just going to erase that off. Okay, just like that. And then before I put this on my card, I want to put my ribbon on there. So I'm just going to cut a piece of ribbon that is wider than I like this gingham ribbon because it kind of looks like a, with the pattern, it kind of looks like a fence look. So that's what I was going for with this. So, I'm just going to turn this over. So I'm just folding it over to figure out where I want it. And I'm out of Stampin' Seal. I'm waiting on my new ones to come in. So I'm going to use an old tape runner that I have. I normally use Stampin' Seal, but I'm out of it. So I'm just going to put a little on both sides to hold my ribbon. And I'm going to come in with my ribbon and I'm just going to press it. I'm going to place it where I want it, just like that. And I'm going to press it around into that tape runner. And then I'm going to pull it across, make sure it's even. And press it down into the tape runner. That works good. So then I'm just going to put my liquid glue on this piece. And I'm going to bring my card base back in. And I'm just going to line this up. And press that down. Now, I'm going to come in with my my windmill is going to help us hold the ribbon in the middle. We've got it held down at the ends, but we want to hold it down in the middle a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some dimensionals on the back of my card. And I'm just going to use 2. And I'm just going to place this, and it's going to help hold my ribbon. And you could always use little glue dots behind it. Let me show you how to do that. If you're worried about it lifting in places, you can just use take your pick tool and come in with a glue dot and just tuck it underneath there and then just press it down. I'm going to do one on the other end just to show you. So I'm just getting a glue dot and I'm just lifting the ribbon, putting it underneath and pressing it down. And so that gives us, that holds it down a little bit. So the only thing left to do, I'm going to come in with my sentiment strip, and I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue on the back of it. And we're ready to place it down. Just like that. And then in that suite, the Flowering Field suite, there's these beautiful brass butterflies. And so I just wanted to add a few of these. So I'm going to add a larger one. Bring this over so you can see. So I'm just using one of the large butterflies down here in the field of flowers. And then I'm using 2 of the little ones, and you could place them wherever you want them in your clouds. I just used 2 in the clouds. Just like that. And then we're ready to just fold this. And I'm going to come in with I'm going to turn it over and use my bone folder just to give it a good crease so it'll help the crease a little bit. And there we have it, a slimline with a scene. I hope you'll give this a try. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel and the notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Check out my Facebook group, my Facebook page, Karen's Cards and More. And if you like any of the supplies and want to order them, karensmith.stampinup.net. And I will be back to craft with you again soon.